Hey guys, I'm glad we kind of got a smaller group here today. It makes things a little bit easier, like to have kind of a communal chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I mean, it's small enough where you can just talk and I can hear you, so it doesn't need to be weird and like silent the entire time or anything like that. Okay. For mine, we have some activities to go through to keep you guys a little bit more interested, and that's about it. So what I work with is a lot of doctors who are just out of residency. So they're starting up in their careers. They want to be successful. They don't necessarily know how to be successful in terms of what does it take to develop a high quality wealth plan? What does it take to implement that plan? But what I face a lot is people that are just generally busy. And I take a look at my own life. When I was in university, like, it was pretty easy. I went to work, I went to school. I had, a list of expenses that was probably 1 or 2 items long and one stable but low income. And I would assume you guys are in kind of the same boat. I know that loans and everything else can be applied to your situation, but essentially that might be your income. And do you guys have debts right now too? Like, just by a show of hands, pretty much everybody's head's bobbing. Yeah. Okay. What would you say your student debts are around too? Like, if I can ask that question, maybe it's kind of personal, but would you say like more than 50K? Most people, more than 150? Around there? Yeah. Okay. That's typically what I see too. A lot of my clients coming out of school, starting up work, they have 150,000 or more, and they're saying, okay, how do I pay this off? Like, what do I do next? Some of them have kids and families. Some of them are married. Some of them are just looking at buying houses, assets. Some of them are looking at competing with their colleagues, and they see this guy driving a Lamborghini, they want to drive it too. Maserati is big in the medical community. I'm not sure what they're doing to get your sales, but they're doing a good job of it. So this is just a simple presentation on the steps to becoming wealthy. You guys have a copy of the entire seminar on here too. And some of it I'm not going to talk about, but it was included just for your references. So particularly the parts on the next slides that get into like cash flow planning and setting up your bank accounts, etc. A lot of the stuff may not be important for you today, but it will come into place in a few months from now. Some of the questions that I get from newer doctors starting out in residency too goes around like incorporation, setting up companies, how to set up your banking. Now it's kind of cool because you actually get paid to go to work, whereas up till now it might not have been the case. So yeah. But basically what we're talking about is automating the financial aspects of your life. Tony Robbins had a quote that was somewhere along the lines of becoming wealthy is a science and becoming happy is an art. So I can't really teach you the art of being happy, but I can teach you the science of becoming wealthy. And it's pretty simple. Like, once you break it down, the common element is essentially don't spend more than you make. And as easy as that sounds, it's not something that I commonly see. My lowest net worth client actually makes about $650,000 a year, and he spends somewhere around $700,000 a year on a regular basis. And some of my highest net worth clients make 120 or so, and they save about 50 or 60,000. And you do that year over year over year, and they're pretty well off. They'll be comfortably retired by the time they're 45. Whereas other people will be working until they're 75, hoping that they can pay for their kids and their grandkids and leave them something instead of debt. So I hope you guys have some ambition to become wealthy on some aspect, or at least have some level of financial freedom that you're comfortable with. So if I can, do you mind going back? There's this page in the white folder. If everybody can just grab this guy. All it is 3 steps to automate your financial success. Cool. So talking about the value of advice, your situation, I think, is about to change in the sense, like I said, it's income, right? Now you have money flowing in. What do you do with it all? So we'll take a look at a little game. It's called Life is a Business. It's a game of numbers. So what I'm going to have you guys do is quickly take a look at the page. Number 1 is in the top right corner up here. So consecutively from number 1 to as many numbers as you can get, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. If you can just circle those numbers, and we'll see how high everybody can get. Everyone understands the rules. Number 1, we're going to try to find number 2, 3, 4, and so on. And we can say go. Okay, stop. Pens down. Your test is over. Okay, so who got up to number 6 was one that I heard thrown out. Everybody get up to 6? Yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did anybody get more than 12? You got more than 12? Good for you, boss. What'd you get? 16. 16? Jesus.
You don't need us.
Yeah, that's a genius. Okay, so what we're gonna do is split it up and make it a little bit easier for you. Do you get like 30 or something? Where are we at? Here, I'll tell you guys the rules here. So if we take your pen and draw a line connecting north to south, N to S, and then another one from west to east. So you should have like a quadrant set up, so 4 distinct boxes. If you take a look at the number 1, number 1's in the top right, and number 2 is in the box on the bottom right. Number 3, it just works itself around, I believe that is counterclockwise. So wherever you left off, if you left off at 6, essentially it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is somewhere in this area. 7 should be over here. All right, so let's say you said you got up to 12? 16? 16? 17, okay. Well, there's the real winners then. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys another 15 seconds, and we're just gonna start again, leaving off with the last number that you left off with. So if you're at 16, go to 17, and go. Okay, stop. So pen's down now. What did you get up to? 41. Jesus, you higher score. What did you guys get in the back?
What did the average person get?
Yeah. You want to shout out? Pardon?
27.
27? Solid, man. What did you get the first time? 8. 8, okay. So let's use 8 and 27 because that's an easier example. So if you take a look at this as your life, like right now, the path is pretty wide open. The rules were explained to you guys, just try to find 1, 2, 3. And that's kind of what you're going to be doing as you go through your own journey, is trying to put all the steps together and make it make sense for you. So 1 to 8, obviously you got 8 numbers, and the difference between 8 and 27 is 19. And so that's basically, we increase your performance by 2.5 times. And the same thing for you from 16 to 41 is roughly 2.5 times as well, the difference there. And that's typically what we see when we offer some guidance, is like, what could we do differently to get you 2.5 times performance from the very beginning? And this is usually what I'm taking a look at with my clients. How can I get you 5 times performance from the very beginning? Right? When I tell them that my fees are going to be, call it $100 a month to work with them, I better be getting them 500 or more. And that's what I want to put together for yourselves is, okay, what do you need to do now in order to get 5 times performance for yourselves? So one of the things around the investments and the loans, student loans that came up that I quite often heard is that people didn't realize how difficult it would be to pay them back after a while. So what I found most is that my guys who were prudent in not spending as much money when they were students, they were decently frugal. That frugality carried through with them through the rest of their lives, even while they were working. They're the ones that had enough to say, yeah, I want to go on vacation and take a month off of work, versus no, I'm handcuffed to the job because I have expensive house, expensive car, expensive lifestyle to pay for. So if I can keep you away from that, then we'll be pretty well off. So taking a look at it, like, all I want to say is let's develop some good habits today that will carry you through the rest of your future. So the start of this is just a super simple wealth plan. And what does it entail? I want to take everything that you're doing and automate it as much as possible. That way you don't have to think about, are my Rogers bills paid? Have my student loans been paid? Are my expenses paid? Does anybody, do you guys rent anything right now? Rent a house, own a house? Does anybody have any mortgage payments to pay for currently? Now, is anybody married? You guys? No? No kids either? Then we're probably pretty solid. Okay, so if you consider just like rent and phone bills are 2 common expenses that I typically see on students, like, how do we just make that go away? A lot of the time, what I come across is people that are still paying their phone bills. It's not on automatic payment. Like, your Rogers can come out of your bank account automatically, come off your credit card automatically. Some people still choose to look at it and pay it. The same thing with your credit cards too. You can set all of that stuff so it's automatic payment. But doing so just means that the money flows into one of your accounts and out the same way without you thinking about it. Ideally, what I want is for you to go to work with a clear head and just be able to focus on making your money while you're there instead of what's happening in the background in your life. Fortunately, nobody has any kids right now, but that'll get pretty hectic later on. So step one is just banking and credit. So set up your bank accounts, set up your credit cards so that they can be automated. Step two is automating your income and expenses. So your income goes into those accounts, expenses come out of them. That makes sense. Step three is automating your tax payments. Through residency, that'll be done for you. It's not much to think about. Like, you guys may get paid $1,000, $300 goes to the government, $700 to your bank account. It's a done deal. It's pretty simple. Once you graduate, that's not the case. And it catches a lot of people off guard because they still think the money that comes into their account is theirs to spend, and that's not necessarily the case. Part of it belongs to your government. Savings and investments, you can automate that stuff too. And right now you can start automating that. So I have clients who had saved $50 a month from their first job. And by the time they're 25, that $50 a month from 15 to 25 turns into about $35,000, $40,000 worth of investment. And it sounds like nothing, like $50 a month can be $600 for the year. You do that over 10 years, your money doubles a few times throughout your investing or savings career, and it's worth quite a bit more than the 50 bucks that you started with. Then the last part of it, which is the most important for me, I think, is outsource where possible. And you can fully take advantage of that today. So in university or when you start working, like, where can you outsource? How can you possibly make your life easier? And I don't know what it would be for you, but I'm sure if we sat down together, I could point out a few things that say, look, if you're willing to pay somebody, call it $10 to do this job, it might free up your time to go work more and make 50 bucks. And that's really what I'm weighing out when I talk to anybody, but my medical clients specifically, is that they're making about $200 an hour. So if they're paying somebody 20 bucks an hour to do a job for them, that frees up another hour or two of their time, they can go back to work. So we'll click through. So when I take a look at automating your banking and credit, right now, you guys would be on the personal side. The professional accounts, they'll come for you in a few years. But on the personal side, just having 2 checking accounts makes life pretty easy. So once you start working, all of your income goes into one bank account, and that's kind of bank account A here. So personal fixed expenses, first income and expenses. So all your income goes into one account, the fixed expenses come out of that account too. And then the second account that you have is for personal spending. So one of your expenses on a monthly basis, if you're making $1,000, call it, 200 bucks just goes from your fixed account over to your spending account. And that's how you budget without having to pay attention to everything. So if you're going to the movies or you're doing whatever, you just pay those bills off your credit card or your spending account. There's a diagram on the next slide and page 2 that just kind of illustrates some of this. Flip over. So when I set it up, it's pretty basic. Like, all I want is all of your income to go into one. For you guys, again, you're on the reds, so all of your income and expenses go into the fixed account, fixed checking account. All of your bills are paid out of that account, and all of your personal spending comes from a separate one. So keep in mind, we want to automate everything and make it very simple for you to succeed. It allows you to set your own budgets too. So if you want it to be on that frugal side, you're making $1,000 a month, maybe 50 goes into your personal spending account instead of 750. Once we get into, actually this is better. So when I sit down with people, what I do is I go through every expense, every source of income that they have, and we put it on a chart for you. Some of the stuff will average out. So, if you go to the movies 3 times a month, how does that work out? Maybe some months you go 5, some months you only go 2. But I want to see what your entertainment budget is so that you can create an actual budget that's realistic for yourselves. And you can find out right away. I mean, if you only have 10, 15 expenses through the month, just add them up. Keep track on Excel, write them down on a piece of paper, whatever it is. Part of the habit that we'd ideally like you to create today is just that savings habit. So if there is a pool that's available at the end of the month, put it off into a different account. Put it off into a savings account, invest it with your bank or whoever helps you out with that stuff. So on the personal bill side, it's just your income. This is for somebody who's working, quite obviously. Like, they're making about 12 grand a month that they can pull out and spend sort of freely. And then because they have kids and kids' activities, their discretionary income is a lot higher. For yourselves, maybe we take a few zeros off of those numbers. But to say like, $1,100 a month is what comes in, and personal spending is only about $500 a month, which might include like all of your groceries, your entertainment, etc. Basically anything that isn't a reoccurring expense goes into that column. I think I've hammered enough away at that. These are the ones that I didn't really want to talk about too much, but they're there just for your reference. So basically, how does cash flow planning work and what are the big aspects of it? Cash flow planning and budgets is what I was just talking about. The biggest thing people miss is the tax plan. Like I said, it's easy while you're working because it just comes off the top. So whoever your employer is will take your government taxes and they'll pay it out to the government right away. Once you guys start running your own businesses, that'll be the most important thing you need to look out for, is how much money should I set aside for tax? And you'll hear it over the next 4 or 5 years. You'll hear the horror stories from your colleagues too. The guys who, in the early years spent everything that came in and they were left with $200,000 tax bills. I find clients like that all the time that come across, and they're 5, 10 years into their career saying like, help me fix this situation still. Investment plan is the other part. Again, just take whatever you can, put it away on a monthly basis. Cool, so on investment planning, this is pretty key to remember. It's not necessarily your investments that screw up the plan. So why we develop or work with our clients on developing good habits is because for that guy who's saving $50 a month, like that's all you need to do. Where you're putting it is not necessarily the most important thing at that level of savings anyways. So if you can put money aside, let your advisors work for you to tell you, look, this is probably gonna be where you wanna put your money, and then take some guidance from them. So what I see quite often is people that try to do it themselves end up with that gap between what their investments actually perform and then how they got in and meddled with things, and it didn't work out for them. So stock markets are down. I don't know about anybody in here, but I bought some of the weed stocks. And yeah, I made some money off of it, but it doesn't always pan out. Some days you're up 5%, some days you're down. Without knowing that behavior gap exists, and that if I go in and meddle with the plan that I set up, I'm going to end up selling when I shouldn't necessarily have done so. So that's what I want to encourage for yourselves, is if you are going to hire somebody, which I highly recommend you do, it's part of outsourcing, is hire somebody and then trust them to do the job. If you find out that they failed you, then get rid of them and get somebody else to do a better job for you. But while you're working, you need to have that trust in the team that you're working with. Part of my financial dream team is finding, your dream accountant, your dream investment advisor, your dream lawyer, people that you trust and that are on your side, that know yourself, your family inside and out. Investing early and often. So what I was saying was just putting some money away is, it's kind of cool. There's this concept called dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging means it doesn't matter what the markets are doing at any given period in time. You're always, on the 15th of the month, putting your money in. So whatever your savings might be, you're buying. If the markets are down, it's even better for you. Because if the markets are down, it means you're buying low. And if the markets are rising, it means whatever you bought previously has earned a good return for yourself. So sometimes when I go through this with clients that are just starting out, everybody wants to see what's happening in the first spot right here, where on a daily basis, all they're seeing is that their investments are going up. It's great. But in the short term, what it means is happening for you is that you're always buying at a higher price. So imagine if you went grocery shopping and you wanted to buy bananas. They started off at $1. Next week you go back, they're costing you $2. And the week after that, they might be $3. It's great if you already have a bunch of bananas. Maybe you can sell them to the grocery store and make a profit off of it. But as young investors, we don't want that. What we want is low markets. We want to be able to buy low, and we want to be able to sell high in 20, 30 years from now. So dollar cost averaging is just an example of that middle slide there, where it doesn't matter what the markets are doing, we're always putting in our $50 a month for savings. So when you develop a good habit like that, I can take a look back 4 or 5 years ago and say, from day to day, I could not predict what's going to happen. But 5 years ago, it was definitely worth a lot less than it is today. Is this new to anybody, or is it, have you guys heard of this stuff before? A few times over. Yeah. This last part is about diversifying your investment structures. What I've seen quite a bit is when people come into residency, now that they're making money, What their accountants try to do is get their tax return very low. And sometimes to do that, what they'll do is they'll take your savings and put it into an RSP. So when I put your money into an RSP, now I get an immediate tax break on it. The consequence of that is when you retire, you've got 4 pools of money. And part of those pools that you guys don't have yet will be your corporations, it'll be your TFSAs, it'll be your RSPs, all of that stuff will be developed. The RSP is usually pretty detrimental to high income earners. So I think all of you will kind of be in that pool later on. So when we take a look at your bags of money, the one that says 54 cents is the RSP, and that's the cost of every dollar you pull out of your retirement account. So if you've got 10 bucks in the account and you want to take that money out, 54% of that, or $5.40, goes to the government. You get the extra 460. So the big benefit of RSPs is when you are in an extremely high income bracket, if you have extra money that could be saved, then you can reduce your taxes at the same rate. So if I put $10,000 into my RSP and I'm in the top tax bracket, I get $5,400 back on my tax return. But as lower income earners, so even if you're making $60,000, $80,000 a year in your first number of years, it doesn't make a lot of sense. TFSAs are a really good source of savings. All the money that grows between the time from now until you retire will be tax-free for yourselves. So if you had an opportunity to invest in a TFSA, that's where I would put your money. The other stuff that's on there, 25 cents, is your corporation. So corporations have been kind of thrown under the bus in the last little bit. But again, if they weren't of value to people, then the government probably wouldn't try to take them away. So if you do get the opportunity, when you do get the opportunity, seriously consider taking a look at, does it make sense for me to incorporate? For a lot of people, the argument can be made that yes, it does, including residents. So you could theoretically start up your corporation from day one of residency, build in all of the expenses that you would have related to specifically your residency, any conferences you attended and whatnot. Your corp could have losses that are built up for 4 or 5 years until you actually start to put money into it. Now you get to offset those losses with the future income that you would have. It's an option. It doesn't make sense for everybody. It might make sense for 1 or 2 of you in the room out of 10. And then just outsourcing. So like I said, find your dream team. So find the people that can put the policies together for you, like Kristen, that you want to carry into your future. Find the accountant that you want on your side that knows your family inside and out and can provide you the best advice. One of the mistakes I see with accountants is they don't understand somebody's full situation. So they just see you and they'll take what you have and what you offer them without considering, the other people that are in your life. So do you have kids? Do you have a wife that you could have potentially split income with? Do you have parents that you could have split income with? Some of this stuff is off the table now, but it should be things that are considered in your long-term financial plan. Another government could come in and change those rules back in your favor. Right? You want to consider that stuff today and how it might play out for you. The other part that is kind of unconsidered is lawyers too. They play a big aspect in getting your company set up. If any of you have any ambition to go into independent practice with your own practice, like outside of the hospitals, you want a good lawyer on your side. And trying to find one when you need one can be very expensive, but developing a relationship with some guys that can help you out today, 4 or 5 years before you need them, it could be a valuable investment in your future. And that's kind of it for me. The last part is just investing in your future. And right now, the biggest investment you can make is insuring yourself. So you have a lot of income potential. As Kristen showed us, $23 million for a 30-year-old doctor making only $250 a year. Most of my clients make upwards of $300, $350, so that number just skyrockets, right? I've had 3 or 4 clients come right out of residency and hurt themselves within the first 2 years of practice, and now they're on disability. It's probably not going to be disability for life, but the longest one I've had is disability for 5 years, where he had to totally change the scope of his practice. And instead of becoming a surgeon, he became the closest thing he could, which was an emergency room doctor. So that guy collects $5,000 a month for the rest of his life because he had to change how he planned to practice. As far as I'm concerned, spending whatever it was, $50 a month seems like a pretty good investment for that $5,000 a month return. So that's it. Inside your package too, there's a questionnaire that we just ask for you guys to take a look at. And basically it goes through the quality of our presentation. Actually, I may have them in the back. Sorry, to give to you. But if you can, just write down any questions that might be in there, or sorry, that might be in your head that you wanted to ask, maybe that didn't get answered today. If you want to put your email address on it, then we'll personally write you back and answer those questions for you guys. In my folder, there's just a brochure on what we do and how we work with our clients, how we could specifically work with you or for you to help you benefit your careers.